That's fair to both sides. You know, it's not going to ruin anybody's life, but it's also not going to just dismiss... Oh, fuck, I jumped too soon. It's not just going to dismiss real cases either. What's up, party people? Hey, welcome back, CattaBlah, to our talk and play of Donkey Kong Country. It's like a podcast, but way better, because we're in it. So, tell that to your mother. Tell your mom about us, she'd love us.
Tell your mom on us.
Yeah, tell your mom on us. Oh, there's a good start.
It's so hard.
Oh, you could have just let him run by you when you're invincible. Oh. Oh. Jesus.
So I always smell my victims first.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine hearing that behind you in the middle of the night. Oh, fuck.
I'm not stealthy about it.
No, I can hear that. Got it. Let me just blind everybody with the fucking light. I'm never gonna have to put a fucking seizure warning in the description.
Warning, you're probably gonna have a seizure.
Yeah, warning. If you're not reading this and watching the seizure, then you probably won't know there's a seizure warning. A seizure warning.
A seizure?
Yes, a seizure.
Or Caesar salad?
A Caesar salad warning. Ah! It's actually kind of annoying having this fucking light blinding me when I turn back around. But you know, that's showbiz, baby.
What was our... If you're just tuning into this episode now and you didn't watch the one previous, first of all, fuck you.
Yeah,
and
why would you miss our episode?
And second of all, we lost like 2 episodes of conversation, and you know that big conversation we had in that final... How did we get our segue into that?
We went from talking about being poor to that. I think because we started talking about the alimony and then how the courts favor the women, I think that's kind of how we got there.
Right.
And that's where we're going to leave it. We're not talking about that anymore.
Why? This is a good conversation.
I guess. It was. It's tough to not word things the wrong way accidentally.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because we were talking about how like the courts favored the women in terms of, and I think we talked about that last episode a bit. In terms of like when you split, like get divorced and you have kids, a lot of times the court favors the mother in those cases, and they'll quite often get custody, and then you know the man pays her alimony. But like I said, it's usually.
I cannot do this with one button input at a time. It's so hard.
Yeah. And in those cases, like a lot of times it's because you know the wife will stay at home with the kids. And then so she doesn't have a job, so it's kind of like she relied on the husband's income to live while she was looking after the kids, and so like that money the guy has to pay to her after to continue supporting the kids. And so it's just kind of like I kind of understand where it's coming from, and you don't often see the man getting alimony. Like you rarely see that. But then we kind of started talking about like cases of sexual abuse, where
and domestic abuse. Like it doesn't even have to be sexual.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how the system in general just kind of doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just a flawed system in general for the fact that you know we kind of got on the tie, and I know it can be definitely touchy, and we definitely don't mean it in a bad way, but like there's been cases where women falsely accuse men of rape, and just by the accusation can essentially ruin the guy's life who she accused.
Yeah.
And like just by saying it without having to prove anything, just saying that he did this, and then like they later were proved that was not the case, his life is already ruined.
Yeah, it's done because it's in the papers. It's whatever. You're applying for a job. A quick Google search will bring it up.
Yeah, that you were accused of rape, and like nobody wants to hire somebody and nobody wants to see that, right?
Yeah.
And like at the same time, you know, obviously, it's very hard it's very hard for the women as well, because there's the other side where they do report it and then they just get shut down and dismissed. Like, there's, fuck you. Whoa. Where, like, yeah, the cops throw it out, they're like, oh no, that didn't happen, we don't believe you, oh, we can't do anything about it. Whatever the case, and it's like, at that point, you know, you hear women that don't come, like, there's a high percentage of women that don't come forward, and a lot of these reasons is because, like, you know, they try and bring it forward, nothing happens, now they get stigmatized because they tried to bring it forward, and oh, you're a liar, and you just regretted it. Like, those cases are really shitty and tough too, because, like, why would you want to come forward if just like shit like that is gonna happen?
Yeah.
So it's just a shitty system all around, because, like, none of this stuff should happen. Like, the false accusations, that shouldn't be able to happen. That shouldn't that ruin your life. Women, you know, if they have the proof, or the cops can at least look into it, you know, that shouldn't be a huge issue either. Like, that.
The hatred of men should not be a thing,
God.
but as well as the bro code, I guess, is what a lot of people call it.
With that swimmer. I mean, I guess that's probably one of the biggest cases, especially recently, where he just gets off the hook. Oh, you know, you don't want to ruin this man's life because he's an up-and-coming swimmer. He's got a big career. I was like,
because he's an
that
asshole.
guy. He ruined this woman's life by taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like both sides are wrong. And one of the episodes that we lost, Dustin had mentioned. What is it? Oh yeah, where it's like, you know, on the women's side, falsely accusing, and then you're later proven wrong. Maybe you should pay that time that he would have had to pay, if he was convicted. And for men, I mean, or women, I guess it can happen on either side. But if you are not falsely accused, like if you did do it, there should be no exceptions given. You should pay the time.
Like, and talking about like falsely accused as well, innocent until proven guilty is a very loose term, I guess. Sure, they're not going to jail, but why are we releasing public records and media statements on something that hasn't been proven yet? Because that's essentially what's ruining that person's life. It's the biggest thing that screws people over. Like, look at In Season Sorry, where he got accused of something. They pulled a Netflix special, and it turned out it was just because this woman was not... this fucking controller. This person was upset that she had given her, her body to this famous person, even though she consented to it, and then decided later on that, she wasn't okay with it, and he took all this backlash, got called a rapist, piece of shit, and it turned out that it was just a pretentious piece of shit that wasn't happy with her decision. Like, that kind of shit should not happen.
Yeah. It's such a touchy subject because, like what was that saying? It was like, regret isn't rape. I can't remember what the hell it is. I know it sounds terrible, but consent. I've always had that kind of problem as far as consent, because how do you
prove consent?
Without actually getting like a written statement, how can you like actually prove it? And I mean, that's the problem, is like, I know a lot of people would say, well, they shouldn't have to prove it, they know how they feel. I understand that for sure, because I mean, maybe it was a case of I didn't want to, but like I got pressured a lot into it, so I may have said yes at the time, but I didn't actually want to do this, and you feel more forced than anything, right? So how do you prove that over, I just kind of regretted it later.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably where a lot of the, argument, like a lot of this discussion leans towards, is like, well, where do you kind of draw the line between, between the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a touchy subject, and I don't want to offend anybody by saying the stuff. I'm trying, obviously I'm trying to look at it kind of from both sides. And yeah, what do you say in those cases? Like, how can we have a system that works for both sides, like both ways,
Yeah.
That's fair to both sides. It's not going to ruin anybody's life, but it's also not going to just dismiss. Oh fuck! I jumped too soon. It's not just going to dismiss real cases either. I honestly don't know how you come and have a just system. I guess have justice, have a just system.
The problem is that there's too many people involved with it for it to ever be fixed. There's too many hands in the pot, too many people that would disagree.
And then bias comes a lot into it too, right?
Yeah, like a lot of sexist pig men would say that, well, unless the woman brings us evidence or whatever, we're just not going to look into it.
And that's the problem too, is there's a lot of a mental side of it where, I mean, we say women a lot, like men can get raped as well. Like it's definitely, it happens on both sides, but for the people that it happens to, it's not something you want to just come forward and talk about right away. Like it's traumatizing, and to say, oh, well, why didn't you come forward? Why didn't you bring this forward? It's like, well, it's a shitty situation that you don't even want to think about. But then you're expecting these people to come forward and talk about it right away. Like, I understand that that's a really hard thing to do. And then when you also have to worry about being dismissed or being labeled because of it, that's super shitty too, right? So I just, there's no good side to it.
And I would almost say that it's just as hard for men to come forward as women, because men come forward, I have some personal experience with this one, simply because I was in an abusive relationship and it was all one-sided and my ex beat the living shit out of me on a daily basis.
Oh, fuck.
But, and it took me 7 months of court days and everything, and then, I had all this evidence, she had no evidence, but they still believed her over me. Simply because I'm a big male, and I literally got laughed at when I said that I was scared of her. Like, you're a big guy. Yeah, she's a fucking 5'2" Satan that wielded a knife at me. Like, fuck, I fucking can't wait to be done this level.
I know.
I remember why I never beat Donkey Kong now.
Well, if you didn't have that problem with the controller, this would probably be easier.
Yeah, it's hard. So yeah, that's a big thing for me is, men just get laughed at. Oh, I was raped by a woman. No, what are you talking about? Are you fucking gay? Like, you'll hear that all the time. Why is it, women can have sex with a minor and it's fucking sweet, but as soon as the guy does it with an almost 18-year-old, lock him up for life. You know what I mean? Like, that double standard is quite hilarious, as far as I'm concerned. And the double standard exists. I'm not saying that women don't have their own plights, but it would be very ignorant to say that men don't have the same struggles, right?
And I guess I don't know the numbers, but I would say it probably doesn't happen as much to men, but just because it doesn't happen as much doesn't mean it still doesn't happen. And it shouldn't happen to anybody. Both sides should get treated exactly the same way and should be treated properly, where it's not just, you're dismissed right away. You gotta jump right into the middle of that and then over. But at the same time, I mean, I guess I know it's tough to say, there should be some evidence there, otherwise anybody would be able to accuse anybody and just ruin their life. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also tough because you may not want to deal with it right away, and you may, lose that evidence. Like, a lot of times you need to get the, what's the proper term for it? I don't like saying rape kit, but
I think that is the technical term for it.
The rape kit done, to prove, like to get that evidence and to have that while it's like, I don't know how long you can wait. Like, it has to be within 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is. Like, it has to be done quite soon after, but like, you're probably still in shock at that point, and it's not something you really want to deal with. So at that point, you know, you may not have that evidence that they're looking for, but should that be dismissed as well? Probably not. But I mean, I guess that's just, maybe that's a bit of a safety so that people can't just get falsely accused, but at the same time, I don't know. Like I said, it's just such a shitty system that there's really no good way that I can think of to make it fair for both sides.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and it's a hard subject to talk about because it's such a terrible thing. Like, I mean, like, you know firsthand because you had to deal with it. I can only imagine what other people had to go through, both men and women.
It was the most frustrating thing in the world, having all these scars all over my body and a black eye and whatnot. I mean, you've seen the shit that I showed you. I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. She's beating the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was in court and I had all these pictures of everything that had happened to me and whatnot, and then to present this, and then for her to just say, with zero evidence, with my surmountable amount of evidence, and just say, it was self-defense, he was doing it to me. For me to almost get thrown into fucking jail for that, and having to prove for 7 months that she was the abusive one, when in text messages and emails it literally said, I'm sorry that I'm so fucking abusive to you. I don't know what's wrong with me. You never do that to me. That I had to prove it for so long. I have a very biased view of this, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, because you experienced it firsthand, it's hard not to.
And then, you know, out in public, and I'm telling people about this, and yeah, she did do sexual things to me without my consent. And to tell people that, and then they laugh in your face because you're a man, and you're bigger than her. How could that happen? Like, it fucking drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, I don't want to ask for stories, but like, I don't know what your guys' opinions on if you guys have ideas of what would make the system more fair.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's just at this point it's such a gong show, like a shit show where it's just nothing seems to really work properly, and you always hear these horror stories of people getting dismissed and they don't get believed. You know, they even have proof and then they still nothing happens. Like,
yeah,
it's just so shitty.
Anyways, let us know down in the comments below if you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure you subscribe for more great content, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.